everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I've got the brand new Living the Line book, Erik Kriek's The Exile. We've been talking about this on the channel for a long time, and it's finally here. The books are in, and the Kickstarter has been fulfilled as far as I know. Everyone that pre-ordered those through the Kickstarter should be getting their copies. If you see this video and you want to get the book and you didn't back the Kickstarter, that's fine. This is going out through Diamond and Diamond Books, so you should be able to get this at any comic store order it for you. Go to your local Barnes & Nobles and order it. You can go to the Living the Line website and order it. Then Sean and Erik get way more of the profit because they're not splitting it with the distributor. You can go through Amazon, any of those venues for buying books you should be able to get. I don't know if the general release has this sketch in this front or if this is exclusive for the Kickstarter, but there's definitely, I have an exclusive edition here, number 53 of 200 with a little plate signed by Erik Kriek. So that's really cool. Except I'm not sure about this, but I just wanted to give you a quick look at the book now that it's in print, and you can see it in print, see what it looks like as a book. And then I wanted to do a print comparison so you can understand really the quality of book that Sean produces, and you know why, beyond the fact that we just become great friends obviously through working together and working on the channel. I just wanted to give you a sense of why I believe in him so much as a publisher. Obviously this is a gorgeous book. Erik Kriek has come up with this style that kind of looks like really sophisticated wood blocks, just kind of giving you the opening sequence here, and then he's limited down to a color palette of these kind of neutral blue colors and the reds. It's not a spot job. There's basically like two layers a piece, a dark blue and a light blue, and then a dark red and a light red. And when I was talking to Sean, I said, man, this book looks so great. Like, it looks like screen prints rather than offset printing. And he said, yeah, actually, when I got the files, they were all already flattened. And so he wasn't able to do even the kind of spot color adjustments or whatever that you would normally do to get a screen print look. And I said, well, how the heck did you do that? And he just did some of his adjustment magic to it and communicated with the printer exactly what he wanted. And I've done some scans to show you the difference between what he's accomplished even in the less than ideal circumstances versus people that have all of the resources and are still producing books that just don't quite look as good. But you can just see what Erik has done with the art. His compositions are amazing. His storytelling is amazing. His whole just style of the book is just phenomenal looking. I've been so excited about this project because I knew with Sean's abilities and the kind of screen print woodblock approach that Erik took that it's going to look like a collection of prints, and it really is gorgeous like that. The story is also extremely good. I don't want to give away too much, so I'll just give you a tiny little flavor of the basic premise and then go out and buy it because it's something that you just kind of have to experience. But the story centers around this character here. Sorry, I'm flipping the wrong way. This character here, Halstein Thordarson. If you've watched that movie that came out recently, The Norseman, it's similar to that, but I think quite better, like less silly and bombastic. So this is Halstein Thordarson, and he is the exile. He's been exiled from his community for reasons that are explained in the book, and his 7 years of exile are now up, and he really, really wants to come back to his father's land. And his father happens to own one of the only patches on Iceland, which is a really desolate place that Kriek represents so well, and I'll show another example of this, but his sense of place and atmosphere throughout the book is fantastic. But Halstein's father owns a plot of land which is the only place in the area where trees grow, and wood is like gold in this community. Wood is the most precious resource. So he's coming back hoping to get his inheritance there. His stepmother, Solveig, which is this woman here, she is being courted. His father has died, and she's being courted by this character, Einar, and he's trying to marry her just to get the rights to the land and the rights to the wood. So that's the basic setup. There's a lot of other characters involved there that tell the backstory of why he got exiled and the political and personal, issues that everyone has with each other. And that structure is why Erik Kriek calls this his Viking Western, because it has that sense of like someone comes to town and it just kicks off all of these personal and political machinations. And then just one more look at the art here in terms of the atmosphere, because again, that's the basic premise of the story, and you should just enjoy how it plays out in the book. But Kriek's sense of place and the fact that he'll just spend whole transitional pages focusing on the land and the importance of the land to the people is something that I really, really enjoyed throughout the book. So that's basically what's going on with the plot in the book that way. And now I'll go ahead and go over and show you some scans of the artwork compared to two books that Fantagraphics put out, and I'll show you what I mean about this looks even more like a screen print or woodblock print job than anyone was probably used to seeing in a book that's actually printed with offset lithography. Okay, on screen here I've got scans of three different books. I've got a scan of a panel I really liked from the Exile. I've got a scan from the new collected edition of the Complete 8-Ball that Fantagraphics put out. And I've got a scan of Fantagraphics' production of Eleanor Davis's How to Be Happy. And I picked these two from Fantagraphics because Fantagraphics is known for its top-notch production. And also these are two things that look like they're either using spot colors in the case of Clowes or something in the Eleanor Davis that is trying to mimic the look of printmaking, whether it be a woodblock or a screen print or something like that. Now, in none of these cases are these actually spot color jobs. The Eleanor Davis, it could have been, if it was just its own book, this could have been a spot color job with what the four different colors here, the black, the red, the yellow, and the blue. Clowes is, if this was just its own book, I'm sure they would have done a spot color job with just this color ink and the black. And the way Erik Kriek did the Exile wasn't set up for spot colors because you have the lighter and the darker, and there's some extra layers on there that would have required a lot of different colors of ink, more than what's suggested by the image. So these are all things that are kind of intended to have the look of flat spot colors, but are being done with a halftoning process. And I just wanted to show the difference between how Sean treated the halftone process and the greater fidelity that he got compared to even Fantagraphics. And this isn't knocking Fantagraphics, that these books that I scanned are beautiful books. It's just now that I've developed this eagle eye, I can see the dots when I'm looking at the books, even without really sticking my face in it. And on the Exile, I really, when I opened, I was like, immediately texted Sean and said, oh my God, dude, this looks like screen prints or woodblocks, which is what this style of art is intended to look like. It's intended to kind of have a presence on the page that's not broken into the dots. So I scanned all of these at 1200 DPI so we could really take a look at what's going on. I'm assuming the Fantagraphics are probably printed at 300 DPI. I don't know exactly what Sean did. The other thing is Sean was working in less than ideal situation where the image was already flattened, so he couldn't separate out and treat everything separately. He had to treat it as a single flattened image. I would imagine that at least for Ghost World, they had those resources where everything was done separately on different layers of art, but I'm not sure. And I'm not sure for the Eleanor Davis either what they had, but I would hope that they had unflattened versions of these things. So these are all of them just at 25% the size of the scan, and you can see that they all look pretty good. On the Eleanor Davis one, you start to see a little bit of that dot pattern, but we'll go in now to the complete 100%, and you can see, you can see the Ben-Day dots and the half-toning process. Again, in person, it looks beautiful. But to my eye, I am being able to see that kind of thing when I'm looking at images in books now. With the clouds, the dots are more obvious, because it's a lighter color, so they have to let more of the paper through since they're not doing a spot color. And Clowes also maybe was like purposely having the dots in there. I could imagine that might be part of the look that he wanted, but I'm not sure. My sense is that Ghost World was intended to be printed with a spot color and not have this color be halftone. But when you put it in the larger book, it starts to get more expensive to do. Just these pages are spot color and these ones aren't. So it makes sense. In same thing with Eleanor Davis. This probably has been printed at some point with spot color, but in a larger collection needed to be halftone. And then this is, we'll go ahead and look at the 100% version of the scan from the Exile. And I've cut out pieces as well from the other two books and put them in there so we can see them one on top of the other. We'll go into 100% here. And here you can see the clouds, the weave of the dots. Obviously at 1200% scan, you're going to see dots. You have to see dots. That's how it's made without a spot color. But the point is Sean's managed to get a tighter weave of dots that are much less visible to the eye. Obviously, clouds is, like I said, using a lighter color, so the dots are going to be further apart. But here you can see a darker, more dense area from the Eleanor Davis piece, and you can see how much bigger the pattern is. And so that makes a difference. Like, that pattern's big enough that it's perceptible to my eye. This one wasn't. And I don't know, Sean didn't tell me exactly what he did, but again, he was working in less than ideal circumstances. He just knew what to do and knew what to communicate with the printer. This red's going to look pretty solid because it's so dark. But over here, you can get a sense of where there is a lighter color. And again, you can compare it to the Eleanor Davis. And the Eleanor Davis is a pretty rich red as well. It's not necessarily lighter red. And you can definitely see the difference that even at 1200 dots per inch, this almost just looks like a flat color. I can see that it's not, but there's a real difference there. And so the way that sits on the page is just astonishingly different. One thing I did notice in the scans, that Fantagraphics ink came out blacker when I in the scan. When I look at them in person, actually the blacks in the Exile are pretty rich and pretty dark. So I think what happened there is actually that they're so rich and so dark that I was catching more luster points. I was catching more of the shine on the scan because of the darker ink and the kind of slicker, more present appearance of it. It's not shiny ink. It's not like coated paper, glossy paper. It's matte. But I think the more matte paper and the less intense black scanned a little bit better. And the reason it looks less black on screen is actually because it's blacker in person and so more reflective. But this gives you a look up close at what I'm talking about. Obviously, like I said, you can still see the dots when you scan it at 1200 dots per inch, but there's a really perceptible difference in size on the screen that's more obvious here. And when you see that in person, that difference holds as well, where you really, really do feel like this thing is a collection of actual prints rather than some kind of mass-produced offset job. And so it makes the book a lot more special in my mind because it feels more like an art object. And obviously Erik Kriek has worked with that type of art object in mind, so his art deserves that. He really does deserve that. And I think all artists deserve to have their vision put out into the world as close to that thing on their board as possible. And that's what Sean has mastered, that even what the industry currently thinks is the standard, which in Fantagraphics, he's surpassed that. And so, I just want to sing his praises, and I want to be so grateful that, he is my publisher, because I know that he will do my work justice in the way that nobody else could. And then on top of that, I just think his selection of projects that he's put out have been amazing. You have Strange Death, nominated for Eisner Award. Plaza was on a bunch of year-end awards. House of Fire is coming out. It's a great book. Exile just came out. It's an astonishing book, beautiful art. Centralia is coming out. It's a really fun book with crazy wild art. Abolition of Man is groundbreaking. So not only is he producing the best looking books, but I really think he's picking not the best books. There's a ton of great artists out there, but the books that Sean is putting out through Living the Line are as good or better than the best books coming out from any other publisher in terms of content as well as production quality. So yeah, please, if you didn't get this through the Kickstarter, go out and order yourself a copy, pre-order it, order it from Living the Line's website, anything like that. That's awesome. Normally I end these videos with a little pitch for like signing up for a Patreon video. We just put a video up for how we've restructured that and what all the tiers are. So that was up a couple days ago. Check that out. And then normally I say, and then support Living the Line Publishing, but this is the book out. This is how you support Living the Line Publishing. This is how you make sure that Living the Line is able to keep going as a publisher and keep producing this kind of amazing work. This is the real mission, is to revolutionize how good books can look in the industry. And the way to make sure that happens is to support the books that Sean puts out, because the amount of effort that he puts in to make sure that they look this good deserves that kind of support, and the quality of the content that he's choosing, the artists that he's choosing, deserve that kind of support. So thank you so much for following along. Really appreciate it. Take it away, Jack.
Make sure to like, smash that subscribe button, and ring that bell.